Okay, welcome everyone. It is March and off we go. We're off to a new month. I want to talk about a subject that I hope will be very interesting. Again, it has come from a conversation that I've had with members of my team this week on a point that they actually said this would be something worthwhile. You should kind of share this on your call on Tuesday. So I'm going to talk about how you position yourself when you are prospecting, when you are talking to others. How do you position yourself? What is your brand? What is your identity? What do you tell people you do? Who do you tell people you are? I'm going to start out. Now, of course, we have perhaps at the backdrop of our minds, a book that was written by Tom Peters back in, I think it was 1997, talking about personal brands, You Inc., right? All about us being brands and how we need to brand ourselves. Having said that, a lot has changed since 1997 when that book was written. And social media seems to have poured rocket fuel all over that concept of personal branding and personal identity and what that means, to the point now that there is humor being taken out of that concept by marketing professionals around the world. Let me just share with you a little cartoon that I came across the other day, and maybe you can tell me what you think about this. So this is the cartoon. I'll read it out for those that are listening only or can't see it. My name is Bob, but I'm more than that. I'm a personal brand. My core brand value is authenticity. Now, so far, so good. Yes, personal brand authenticity. My product is thought leadership. How many of us come across thought leadership experts on social media? Yeah, that I promote as content all day long. That's my product. To followers influenced by my platform. And then, of course, the checkout lady goes, I just needed a name for the next order. Right? He's getting overly excited. And then he looks at his device and his cup. And it says, this says boob. She got his name wrong, right? So what they're doing is they're just kind of taking the mick, making fun of this concept of personal branding being taken to extreme, right? So here it looks like maybe he's at Starbucks ordering a coffee and his whole personal brand getting misrepresented at the drop of a hat. What is your personal brand? Do you have a personal brand? It's been said, let me read this out. I like this quote. It says, as the marketing saying goes, brands want to be people and people want to be brands. Now, I'm going to read you an excerpt here from what Tom Peters wrote. He says, as of this moment, you're going to think of yourself differently.
I'm having trouble connecting to the internet. Take a look at the help section in your Alexa app.
That's frightening. You don't belong to any company for life, and your chief affiliation isn't to any particular function. You're not defined by your job title, and you're not confined by your job description. Starting today, you are a brand. I'm curious to know what people might think of that, that are listening to the call. Does that sound like something good, something bad, something true, something false? By all means, feel free to comment in the comment section below. Tom Peters is a recognized name, and of course that book, very famous book. But the COO, the Chief Operating Officer of Facebook, said 20 years later in 2017, a lady by the name of Sheryl Sandberg, she said, you don't have a brand. I get this question a lot and I shudder every time. Crest has a brand. Perrier has a brand. People are not that simple. When we are packaged, we're ineffective and inauthentic. What do you think of that? Some interesting thoughts here, isn't it? Let me continue this on just a little bit. And for context, the reason this comes up is many people say, when we're talking to people, when we're prospecting, many people struggle with knowing what to say, how to start the conversation. We know how to perhaps give a presentation, but it's getting people to want to hear that presentation first that can be the stumbling block, which means the stumbling block arrives pre the presentation at the phase of invitation. And that invitation comes around introductions, building relationships, the actual hub of what we're all about, which is networking, Network marketing at its core is centered on a fundamental activity of networking and learning how to do that effectively. So what many of us do when people ask what we're about, perhaps subconsciously, we feel nervous to say, I do network marketing, because we think of the reputation of the industry. We're worried about what preconceptions might be there. We worry that we might have to immediately go into defense mode or put out fires. So we try to redefine it and call it something else. Let me read you out something. I read books on all sorts of subjects, by the way, so don't be put off by this title. But this is one of my favorite books, actually. It's called Spy the Lie, How to Detect Deception. And it was written by former CEO officers that are just mind-blowing with their knowledge and skills on detecting deception. But they would interview all sorts of people. I'm going to read you out something here. And I want you to see if, as I share this, you go, oh, maybe I've fallen prey, victim, or have been guilty of this activity. Sometimes they would need to interview people, internal people within the organization on a regular basis, just to keep spot checks on how people are doing, how they're performing, make sure that no one's gone rogue, perhaps. I don't know, all sorts of different reasons why they might want to interview or need to interview members of their teams. But they said in every occasion, they would always start the interview with the question, what's your job here? Now, of course, they said they knew what their job was, so that question was a test. They would never go into an interview not knowing who the person was in the first place, what their job was in the agency. So why would they ask the question? Listen to this. They said the purpose was something of a test. We found that truthful people tended to respond succinctly with a job title. I'm a case officer, or I'm an analyst. Deceptive people tended to provide a job description, offering specific information intended to manage the investigator's perception of them. What's interesting is that everything they said was the truth, but the purpose was to create a halo effect. It's interesting that, isn't it? So what they're saying is, if we're going to be more honest in our communication, we're going to be more succinct and to the point. I ran a quick test. I jumped onto LinkedIn after reading this earlier this afternoon, and I typed in network marketing and went to people to see what type of job specs or job titles people would put in that are affiliated with network marketing. The first one that came up, I won't read his name out, I'll respect his privacy. His job title was helping people discover the power of leverage. That's a job description. It's not a job title. It goes right back to what these guys were saying, that in branding themselves or identifying who they are with others, he's immediately gone into what a subconscious message will tell us is a deceptive practice. He's trying to create a halo effect. He's trying to make us feel immediately better about him than perhaps he might be feeling about what he does. It's best if we can learn to be succinct, to the point. So I want to ask you a question. When people talk to you and ask you what you do, what is your answer? Some of you might need to think on the spot now, because you might go, I have a very long-winded answer that I normally give that explains everything that I do as a job description versus a job title. What is it that you do? It's interesting. As I had this conversation with a member of my team earlier today, we were talking, and I said, if I was a marketing executive, for example, and I worked for Nike, would I call myself a shoe ambassador or a champion of people's feet, striving to make a difference in the world 1 foot at a time? Or would I tell people I'm a marketing executive? Which would it be? And if I was a shoe ambassador, I came up with these fancy phrases and terminology that they haven't heard before, would that draw them in or would that repel them? What would it do? A short, concise, to the point answer is actually more engaging, but we want to make sure that it resonates with what we love. I made note that a good friend of mine, he's a serial entrepreneur, and he's constantly involved in new startups. Now, he's run a number of very successful, I'm talking billion-dollar companies now, that are very big brand names, recognized, especially in they're European, they're US-based companies, essentially. One of them sells shoes online, another one sells athletic gear online, another one sells children's things like nappies or diapers, as you say in the States. Diapers, shampoo, and organic stuff for the home and for the children and what have you. But in an interview, he said, I don't consider myself a fashion expert, even though he sold shoes for one of his companies, which was a $100 million plus organization. I'm not a fashion expert. I'm a web guy. I just love building business online. I just happen to sell shoes. In fact, the CEO of Starbucks said, we're not a coffee company. We're a people company. We just happen to sell coffee. I kind of like that as well. Yeah. But what you'll find is people will gravitate to what they love to do versus their cause. So I think we need to, when we're talking to people, differentiate. When people are asking what we do, to learn to identify the difference between what we do versus what we are about. There is the cause, there is the purpose, but there is also a succinct activity that we're engaged in. When people ask me what I do, I'm an entrepreneur, and I help other people that run their own businesses from home to do better. And I keep it as simple as that. But I'm an entrepreneur that is essentially focused on coaching and consulting, helping others to do better in business. They immediately get that, and they're immediately interested in learning more. So we've got a number of people. Molly, you've said you're an entrepreneur. And Carissa, you've raised a good point. Authenticity is a big deal to people, isn't it? And sometimes, and you can't fake it. I've heard it said many times over, you can't fake sincerity. It's one of those attributes that if you don't have it authentically or in the real sense of the term, you just lose people straight away. It comes out glaringly as the opposite. So we do need to be real. So what is your brand? What is your identity? When you talk to people, how do you start your conversation? Let's get some feedback coming in. David said, I'm not who you think I am. I'm not what you think I am. I am what you think I am. Dave, that's a great quote from Dave, isn't it? Yeah, I love that. Maybe you might want to elaborate on that, Dave, if you can. I'm not sure if you could. But let's get some feedback coming through as to what people say they do versus what they're about. Because again, like I said, I like this simple, concise message like Molly has said. I am an entrepreneur. If you look at the people that are thriving in business, in their own businesses, what do they do? What do they love to do? I was chatting to Mike earlier on, Mike DiMuccio, and I said, as I look at what you do, what you're great at, there's a lot of different things that we do in Nikan. I said, but what stands out, jumps off the page to me, is you're a great coach, you're a great trainer, you're a great speaker. Yeah, that's what you do. And so someone asked you what you do. I'm an entrepreneur, and I am a coach, trainer, mentor, helping other people become successful entrepreneurs. But that's my business. That's what I do. I think that makes a lot of sense. So let's get some feedback from you. People are getting a little shy here and sharing what they think they do. And keep in mind, by the way, this is a team call. So if you put something in here, maybe share some ideas of, does this sound good? Maybe you've been playing with some ideas. Does this sound okay to say? What do you think? Let's get some ideas down on paper here and share with the team, because this is 100% a safe place to share. Yeah. So this is a place where you can say something and get it wrong, and it's 100% okay. So I can see a couple of people typing now, so I'll wait just a second. What do you do?
Hey, Ben, one of the big things is you want to say something that arouses curiosity, so people will ask more and want to meet with you. And one of the things I like to do is look what everybody else is doing and try to do something different. And what distinguishes us and has worked really well is people say, well, what do you do? I say, I work with a company bringing to market some amazing non-medical technologies that I believe everybody needs and and nobody has yet, that I believe we can really make a big impact on the largest business that there is, and that's health. And everybody's interested in health. And usually at that point right there, they will tell me more, and they want to know about it, and that gets the conversation going. So that's the thing I like to do, is something real quick that's unique, that gets the conversation going, where I can get their name and contact information, and then give them more information down the road, or meet with them. So that's worked well for me, and it's easy to teach other people to say the same thing.
Yeah,
and it's different than what everybody else is doing.
Yeah, I like that. Having something that is unique, that grabs their attention, makes them want to ask some more questions, is very good. We've got a few more people putting in comments now, which is great. So let me go back to a few. We've got Carissa has said, I'm a marketing enthusiast trying to be a successful entrepreneur. I like that. Concise, Carissa, to the point, very clear. It shows you that you're an entrepreneur, you work for yourself, but also you're focusing in a marketing area. And you called your business Restoration Unlimited. I work in customer service. I like that. Jean Brock, I often say I'm a wellness consultant or a health educator, and wait to see if they're interested enough to ask me what that means. I love that. I love that, Jean. We don't need to be overly flowery or fancy or exceptionally clever with, like I said, these fancy names that we can come up with. A wellness consultant or a health educator is a great, succinct, to the point message that helps people know a little bit more. And by having a little tag-on statement afterwards that might grab their attention to make them want to ask a question is always good to do as well. And you could just say, and I find it really fascinating. And just make a statement like that about why you love it so much. And in fact, sometimes, I've done this a number of times where you go, if you're wanting people to lead with questions and ask you so that they are feeling like they're kind of leading the charge. Sometimes I've asked people, so what is it you do for work? And they share, oh, I'm a sales manager, or I work for this pharmaceutical company, or I'm a doctor, or whatever it might be. Oh, excellent. And do you enjoy what you do? Do you like what you're doing? They give their answer. That's always helpful for the future questions that's going to come anyway in the future discussion. You want to know their level of interest and engagement in their own employment. And then I say, oh, that's fantastic. I love what I do. And then I say nothing. And I go quiet. And they go, oh, what is it you do? Right? And then, oh, I'm so glad you asked. Right? And then I can give them the answer. And it's just that little way to have them leaning in. We don't want to have them kind of leaning back all the time. We want to every now and then just have a few tricks as we speak with them that will make them lean in and ask questions. So, yeah, I absolutely love what I do as well. Oh, what is it you do? Oh, I'm glad you asked. I'm a wellness consultant. I find it fascinating, especially with the way wellness trends are changing right now. The impact that I can have on people's lives is proving to be tremendous. And you can just immediately open up a conversation from there. But can you see how keeping it simple and allowing them a chance to lean in and ask a few questions can open up the door for meaningful conversation versus having ambiguous statements of who we are? Let's see what else others have said. So Barb Satterwhite said, I'm a connector. I connect others to a better path of health and finances. I like that. I really like that, Barb. Sue Gruber said, we market and distribute products for a global wellness company with the purpose of better health over time. I like that. Again, nice and clear. We market and distribute products. It's a global business, and our objective is better health over time. Yoko, I share natural solutions, more freedom, less stress. And then it explains why I retail the need to develop teams for more freedom. Again, I like that, Yoko. It's good. It's good. Nice and simple. Ruth, I love this one. I'm a holistic health expert, and I teach people to stay healthy naturally. These are good. I hope people, maybe you want to make some notes here, because we're getting some good things here that we can share with others. And maybe as you're going through, you might have a few favorites that jump up, that stand out. I like that one. That's up there on my list right now, Ruth. A holistic health expert. I teach people to stay healthy naturally. Carolyn Trotter, I'm confused. To be clear and succinct, should we be saying I'm a professional network marketer? if you choose. If you choose. What I say, it's my personal belief that I need to say what I love most about what I do. Yeah, and if you look through the list here of what people are explaining, what they do, they're explaining the parts of the business that they actually love the most. I know from my personal interactions with Ruth that subject that she's given, what she says she does as a holistic health expert, is something she is deeply passionate about. Now, there are certain elements of network marketing that many network marketers are not passionate about. Let's call a spade a spade. Most people don't join network marketing because they love to pick up the phone and make phone calls. They don't necessarily love extending the invitations, but it's an essential part of the job. And please understand, that's okay if there are parts of the job you don't like. In every career, in every job that we have, there will always be something that we don't like. I love being a dad. I don't think there could be anything more fulfilling than being a parent. I don't particularly enjoy getting up at 3 a.m. to change dirty diapers, but I do. Yeah, I've done it for 18 years straight. But I don't enjoy that. I don't like it when they throw food all over the floor. They make a mess, they make each other scream and cry and get into wrestles and fights and break something valuable or poo on the floor or do something ridiculous like that. I don't like that stuff, but there are far greater things in the job that make it all worthwhile. Yeah. So what is important to note is as we look at what we do in network marketing, it's okay to identify that there are certain parts of my job that I might find difficult, that I might find intimidating, that might be outside of my comfort zone, or that I might not necessarily resonate with as a part of my personality type. I had a call with a team, a group of my team in Mexico last night, and one of the team members asked, we had a bit of a Q&A session afterwards, and one of them said, and I said, and I'm looking at a couple of my UK teammates here, I said, you're making me think of my UK team because they ask this kind of question all the time. She said she was a brand new silver, and she said, how do you approach people and invite them when you don't want to sound salesy or pushy or that kind of thing? Because that's not my personality type. You know, I'm not that kind of personality. And I said, you sound like my UK group. I get asked this question on a regular basis with the UK team. How can we be a little bit more natural and genuine and less salesy and that kind of thing in the way that we talk? But network marketing can require us to do things that are uncomfortable, but for the greater good of the business. It can get us outside of our comfort zone and for the greater good of ourselves. But there will be certain parts of the business that will just resonate with you. And my counsel is, that's the bit that you want to hang your hat on. I love to teach and train. That's the part that I love best. I love being with people. And for me, being in that environment, leading with that type of activity is what I love the most. So when people ask me what I do, my business revolves around that. But I have a business model that supports it, that enables people to be profitable as a consequence of that training. Yeah. So you can change your message in any way to bring out the best of you in order to represent your message and your opportunity. I've got a few more comments here. In a way, Dave says, every business is about networking. Every business loves referrals. Word of mouth is the best marketing of all. You're right. And there are countless books now that are coming out more and more about sales being involved in every business, in every company, in every position. Everything we do has some element of sales in it. Children are selling to their parents all the time, aren't they? Husbands are selling to their wives all the time, vice versa. I'm selling to my upline. I'm selling to my downline. I'm selling cross-line to the company, to my prospects, to my customers. Wherever I go, I'm pitching in some way my ideas, my beliefs, my views, and I want people to believe them. And so that just comes as a part of it. Elaine says, I'm a wellness and environmental entrepreneur. I like that because sometimes saying I'm an entrepreneur can be ambiguous in itself. To say I'm a wellness entrepreneur, I'm an environmental entrepreneur, immediately gives you the identity of I'm a self-starter, I'm a go-getter, I run my own business, and it's in this field. So you could say I'm a wellness entrepreneur, I'm a networking entrepreneur, I'm a holistic health entrepreneur, I'm a coaching and mentoring entrepreneur. It could be a whole host of different ways. Bob Richmond said, Richard Bliss Brooks said in Toronto, we should be proud that we're in network marketing. Absolutely. And this is something that I'm going to spend a bit more time on over the coming weeks. Reasons to be proud that we are in network marketing, because, and this kind of comes back a little bit to the point of this conversation today. One of the challenges is, I think, that many of us need to improve on and develop is our own conviction in the business model of network marketing, to recognize the fruits and the potential and the wonder of all that is offered on the table of network marketing. It is literally a veritable feast that is laid at our feet for us to enjoy. How much of it we consume is up to us. But if we only consume a little bit, that doesn't mean that there is a lot on the table. In fact, if you look at all of the annual incentives that are available each and every year, coupled with the compensation plan, Nikan has put an awful lot on the table. Yet so many of us are content to simply nibble around the edges versus enjoy everything. I think we need to be willing to embrace more of the benefits and stand up more confidently for the fact that we are network marketing professionals. This is something we can be proud of. We don't need to be ambiguous. So going back to Carolyn's point, can you say I'm a professional network marketer? 100% yes. And if you do it with confidence, make sure you stand up straight, square your shoulders, look them in the eye, say it with a smile versus say it with a shirk. 100% you can say it with confidence and be proud, because it is in fact a great industry to be a part of. So I just want to conclude the message now by saying, when you look at your personal identity, let's kind of recap. When you're talking to others, who are you? Who are you in here? And who are you in regards to what you say? I would remind each of us that it is important to be succinct and to the point, to be clear, simple, and direct. When we use too much fluffy words, when we try to give a lengthy job description about what we do or what our business is, then it can give a subliminal message that we are trying to create a halo effect or are being a little bit deceptive. And we don't want to give that message. They won't necessarily say it verbally, but they will think it. Because whenever body language is in contradiction to what we say, people always believe body language. And it's the same with things like this. So we want to be simple, clear, and direct, be proud to be network marketers, champion that cause. And if there are elements of network marketing in particular that you want to build your brand, your identity, or your business on, build your name, your reputation around that. If you can make a great, thriving business on being a holistic wellness practitioner or teacher or instructor, then build out from there, if that's going to be where your client base will come from. If you're great at teaching people how to develop vision, how to build up their own business, how to start from scratch, and how to grow their own entrepreneurial activities, then that's going to be where you're going to gravitate to audience-wise. And that's where an audience will gravitate to you. So utilize your own strengths, introduce them into your identity, lead with that, and then I think we can have a much more confident and more comfortable conversation at the front end of our network marketing experience. If we drill it all down, we might be great presenters, but that won't mean anything if we don't feel comfortable and confident in the introductions and the grassroots level of networking. And at that very grassroots level, we need to have comfortable conversations where we are confident in our own identity, saying who we are and what we do succinctly, without spin, without fluff, to the point, but with conviction, who we are, what we're about. Let them know our strengths, let them know our cause, give them a reason to ask more questions and to lean in versus to push back. So I hope this has helped. Thank you very much for all of the the comments and the sharing the participation that's gone on in this call. It's been very, very helpful. And hopefully each of you have come away with a few different ideas or thoughts of how we might want to position ourselves when we're having those first initial conversations and we're introducing ourselves to brand new people. Network with confidence, be authentic, be ourselves, and appeal to our strengths. Thank you very much, and we'll speak soon.